Hey, what's going on? It's Brad here, and today we're going to debunk some myths, specifically a few super common and pervasive credit card myths that are often repeated and propagated online that may be costing you money and seriously hurting your credit score. Whether you're brand new to building credit or you're looking to get as much value out of your credit cards as possible, these are myths you're going to want to watch out for. So we'll talk through each of these myths, take a look at the facts, and give you some insight on how you can use this information to build your credit, maximize your rewards, and avoid paying unnecessary interest. With that said, let's get right into it. Myth number 1, having too many credit cards hurts your credit score. Many people believe that having multiple credit cards will automatically lower their credit score. They worry that more cards equals more risk in the eyes of lenders, so they think it's safer to only have one or two credit cards. In reality, simply having several credit cards does not inherently damage your credit score. The credit bureaus do not count the number of cards you have as a negative factor. Now, what does matter is how you manage those cards, primarily your payment history and your utilization rate. If you can manage multiple cards responsibly, making payments on time and keeping your balances low, having more cards can actually benefit you. For example, if you have more cards, you're going to have a higher total credit limit, which makes it easier to use a smaller percentage of your available credit, which is a key factor for boosting your score. On the flip side, if having too many cards tempts you to overspend or miss payments or anything like that, that behavior will hurt your score. But it's because of those missed payments and those high balances, not because of the sheer number of cards. Now, I'm not saying you should go and get 20 new credit cards, right? There's nothing wrong with keeping your financial system simple with just a couple of cards that make sense for your life. But if you do want to add more cards to the mix, as long as you use them wisely, they should only benefit you. Myth number 2. You need to carry a balance to build credit. This is a super common misconception. The idea that you have to carry a small balance from month to month on your credit cards in order to improve your credit score. This is completely false. You do not have to carry a balance to build credit. And in fact, the credit bureaus themselves have confirmed that paying your card off in full every month is better for your credit. Carrying a balance doesn't do anything positive. It just costs you money in the form of interest. To build credit, all you have to do is use your card and then pay the bill on time. You'll get credit for on-time payments and responsible usage, regardless of whether you carry a balance or not. If you charge $100 on your card and pay that $100 off by the due date, you've shown good credit behavior. There's no extra credit score benefit for leaving like $5 unpaid. You're just going to get hit with interest on that $5 on your next billing cycle. And if you're doing that regularly, that interest is going to add up. I mean, credit card APRs can be 18%, 20%, 24%. Why pay that unnecessarily? The key takeaway here is that you should always aim to pay off your balance in full every month. If you do this, you'll build credit and avoid paying interest, so it's a win-win. Myth number 3, you should close your old credit cards. Many people assume that if they have a credit card they're not using, especially one with a zero balance, it's best to close the account to simplify things or avoid any potential problems. The thinking here is that canceling those old unused accounts will help your credit score, when in reality, the opposite is true. Canceling credit cards can actually damage your score. This is because of two main credit scoring factors: your length of credit history and your utilization rate. Your length of credit history comes from how long your credit accounts have been open, the age of your oldest account, the age of your newest account, and the average age of all of your accounts. When you close an old credit card, it drops off of your credit report, which means your average account age is going to drop. And if that card happens to be your oldest card, it's going to have an even bigger impact. Additionally, by closing a credit account, you reduce your total available credit limit, which increases your utilization rate because your current balances are now a larger percentage of your total available credit. Both a shorter credit history and a higher utilization rate can ding your credit score. So unless a card has an expensive annual fee or some specific downside, think twice before canceling it. An aged account in good standing is only going to help your credit score, even if you just cut it up or keep it in a drawer and don't charge anything on it. As long as the account stays open, it's contributing to your credit history. Now, let's say we are talking about an expensive travel card or something, and you've decided you don't want to pay the annual fee anymore. Most of the major credit card companies offer what's called a product change, where you can keep the account open by downgrading it to a different card in their lineup, ideally something with no annual fee, and that way you can preserve your credit history without being stuck with an expensive card forever. Myth number 4, applying for a new credit card destroys your credit score. There's this fear that every time you apply for a credit card, your credit score is going to drop dramatically. This myth makes people hesitate to apply for new cards, even if they could benefit from better rewards, better rates, whatever it may be, because they think the hard inquiry in the new account is going to wreck their credit. Here's the thing. Inquiries and new accounts do have an effect, but it's generally small and temporary. A single credit card application should only reduce your score by a few points and for a short period of time. And again, adding a new card to your wallet can actually help your score because it increases your total available credit, which lowers your credit utilization. Now, of course, if you go out and apply for 15 new cards in the span of a week, those inquiries are going to add up and signal high risk to the credit bureaus, right? But spaced out occasional applications for credit are totally normal and expected, and they're not going to do any long-term damage. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that if you are planning on applying for a major loan like a mortgage in the near future, you might want to hold off on any new credit cards just to keep your score as high as possible in the short term. Otherwise, a well-timed credit card application for a card that suits your life is totally fine, and your score will be okay. Myth number 5, credit cards will just lead you into debt. We've all heard this from some of the popular financial gurus, the ones who vilify credit cards in a very black and white way without any nuance. This is the idea that credit cards are inherently bad, that using a credit card is the same as accumulating debt, and that you're bound to overspend and end up in financial trouble. Here's the reality. A credit card is a tool. Whether it leads to debt depends on how you use it. Using a credit card does not automatically mean you're incurring debt. If you pay off your balance in full every month, which I always advise, you're essentially using the card for free. You're not paying any interest. You're not going into debt. Debt only occurs when you carry a balance over time. It's completely possible to use credit cards for all of your purchases and never be in any debt or pay any interest whatsoever. When used wisely, credit cards offer a lot of benefits: cash back, rewards points, fraud protection, travel perks. Personally, I get thousands of dollars of value out of my credit cards every year. And in doing so, I'm also building credit history that allows me to take advantage of the best possible rates whenever I do actually decide to take on debt for something like a mortgage. The key, again, is to treat your cards like cash and pay them off in full every month. Credit cards aren't evil, but they can amplify bad habits if they're not kept in check. For most people, understanding the reality of this myth is empowering. You don't have to fear credit cards, and you can actually get a lot out of them. You just have to have a plan for how you use them. Remember, debt is optional when it comes to credit cards. You're in control over whether a balance turns into a long-term debt or not. All right, so we've debunked 5 big myths today. Here are the key takeaways. Number 1, having multiple cards is fine. It can even boost your credit if managed well. Number 2, carrying a balance doesn't help your credit score. It only costs you interest. Number 3, think twice before closing your old cards. You want to keep that length of credit history and credit utilization on point. Number 4, don't be afraid of applying for a new card when it makes sense to do so. And finally, number 5, using a credit card does not have to be a slippery slope into long-term debt. Pay in full and you'll stay debt-free. Let me know in the comments below if any of these myths surprised you. And if you found this video helpful, I'd love it if you would hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.